Hi, I've been talking a lot about quality behaviour support and stepping up and advocating for people with disabilities who are receiving behaviour support that may not be meeting their needs. And the area I want to talk about today is skill development. Skill development is a really important part of good quality behaviour support. And the theory behind it is behaviour serves a function. We engage in a behaviour because it does something, we get something out of it. And the function of that behaviour is addressing a need. And if we can develop the skills in a person that addresses that same need, has that same function, then they won't need to resort to the challenging behaviour or the behaviour of concern. So a really good example, if I throw a pen at someone to get their attention, the function of that behaviour is getting their attention. A skill development plan then in my behaviour support plan should be some strategy that I can use to get someone's attention that's more appropriate than throwing a pen at them that is going to work. So I'm going to need a lot of reinforcement. Let's say it's saying their name, which is an obvious one to us. So if I want someone's attention, I say their name. And then when I say their name, I need to get lots of reinforcement for doing that. So they need to turn around and they need to give me their attention. And over time, with that really strong reinforcement and consistent reinforcement, the theory is that I won't need to find a pen, pick up a pen and throw it, that it's a lot easier to say the name. So the skill development addresses the function of the behaviour. That's good quality behaviour support. And it's not always easy to find that skill development, I will admit that, but that's the challenge, and that's part of being a behaviour support practitioner, is using your good assessment processes to identify these. Skill development can also be developing skills that increase your quality of life, of course. So they may be things like learning to catch a train so that you can go out with friends, or it could be something around the house that improves the person's quality of life. But we need to think about what quality of life is for the person. Too many times I'm seeing skill development programs in behaviour support plans that include things like making a sandwich, doing the washing, and learning those, what I would call, household chores. There's nothing wrong with supporting people with disability to learn to do things independently and live independently. That's a real positive thing, but it's not necessarily improving their quality of life. It can be if their goal is to live independently. But if I've got someone with behaviours of concern, their communication is poor and people aren't understanding them, they're not going out in the community very much because of their behaviours, they're not accessing things, they don't have many social outlets or things that they like to do, teaching them to do the laundry is probably not going to improve their quality of life. That's my opinion anyway. So I'm looking for good skill development that is addressing the function of the behaviour, that is not just tasks or chores that they need to learn. There's nothing wrong with having tasks or chores in there if it's improving their quality of life or as a good strategy, but it's also something that I would argue needs to be outside of the positive behaviour support framework and part of just good supports and person-centred supports and an active support for a person with disability to be teaching those independent skills anyway. I don't think it should be part of positive behaviour support, but it is becoming that in some cases. So I'm not saying it shouldn't be in there, because at times it's very important. I'm saying people with disabilities deserve the opportunities to learn new skills and live independently, and we should be teaching that. Just not sure it's part of positive behaviour support all the time. But I'm saying we absolutely need those skill developments that are reducing the challenging behaviour. And that's the practitioner's role, to come up with those. And that's why good practitioners have good supervisors, because there's often a brainstorming around all of this as well, around what is the skill development that meets this function. So look for that when you're in the skill development section, and look for a skill development that can be implemented. We should be providing in behaviour support plans realistic and practical skill development. And sometimes that's a conversation and a consultation with the person and their carers, because we know that this is the function of the behaviour. We know this skill is going to help reduce the behaviour and improve quality of life, but we also know it might be a bit intensive. And perhaps that's about advocating for additional supports or using the implementation stage of the behaviour plan to get it in place, because it's so important that the good skill development is put in place. So that's my ideas and opinions on good skill development. Thanks.